It worked this time. Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to call the Stevensville Special Town Council meeting for Wednesday, September 14th, February 14th, 2024 at 3 p.m. I'd like to call the order and roll call. Janelle, would you take the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Barker. Here. Councilmember Brown. Here. Councilmember Nelson.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
And Mayor Michelson.
Here. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Do we now go to public comments? Public comments on anything that is not on the agenda today? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move to the new business item, discussion decision, consent to the mayor's appointment of John Bowe as chief of police for the Stevensville Police Department. I'd like to start out with a little synopsis here and give you a little background on how we got to this point. And then, with your permission, I would like to have Mr. Bowe step up to the podium and give a little presentation of his own. And then I'll ask for a motion, second, and then we'll open up discussion between the council to him, and then I'll ask for comments from the public, if that's okay. Okay. As you all know, Chief Max also resigned in late September of last year. Officer Todd Schiffer was then named as the interim chief of police for the town. Finance Officer Crowe started a search for a new police chief soon thereafter. We had approximately 36 applicants, 12 were not even police officers. It was narrowed down to 12, to which Finance Officer Crowe started making phone calls. She spoke to 7, to which 4 withdrew their applications thereafter. She called the remaining ones, and only John called back. After a back and forth between her and John, we set up an online Zoom meeting interview last Wednesday with John. Gina, I, and Matt Sear, who is Judge O'Connor's husband, who had over 30 plus years of law enforcement experience. So that interview went about a little over an hour. We were all impressed, of course, and when we put the laptop down and ended the meeting, Matt looked over at Gina and I and said, "You guys should have hired him yesterday." So on Thursday, the next day, the 8th, intern police chief Todd Schaefer and Trevor Franston came into my office and gave me their resignations. We knew Todd was leaving, that was no secret. We had offered Trevor the intern police position to fill until we found somebody, and he didn't want to, he didn't feel comfortable with it. He said he'd think about it and back and forth, but once they gave me the resignation, he moved on to Hamilton. So we were without, other than Cassie, who's in the academy still until mid-March, we were without anybody. So Gina made a phone call to John and asked him how soon he could be out here. John says, "I can leave right away." So which he was here Sunday. On the 11th, here he is. John has passed his psych evaluation, his physical, his background checks, and has got the blessing from the police commission, as you can all see this morning. John will receive the wage that Police Chief Mack left at, which is $34 an hour. And with that, I'd like to open it up to Mr. Bowe, if you'd like to step up to the podium and give the presentation.
First, thank you for having me here today. It's been quite a process getting here. I'm appreciative of the council and the town of Stevensville. So my name is John Bowe. I've been a public servant for roughly 32 years. I started out as a firefighter when I got out of the military. Then I went into law enforcement not long after actually right after my fire service career. My intent or my goal was to further my educational pursuits. I did do that over the period of time that I was in law enforcement up until now. I've got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, started on my coursework for my master's in criminal justice as well, and my plan is to continue to finish that even in this position. I hail from Texas originally, as my predecessor did. I was a military family. I lived in Wichita Falls, attended schools in Wichita Falls, and then upon completion of school, I got into the military, the United States Army down at Fort Benning, Georgia. I was a member of the 10th Mountain Division, 314th Company. Not long after my enlistment, I ETS'd honorably from the military. Got married, raised 2 kids. Both my kids have completed college. I've got one that's still in school at UT. I've lived in Chattanooga for approximately 16 years, and prior to that, I was in Northwest Georgia. So my career has been extensive. I've had a lot of training. I've had the opportunity and the ability to gather a lot of experience and knowledge. So at this point in time, my skill set is to the point where I can comfortably take over the position as the chief of police in a municipal agency such as Stevensville. I feel confident in my abilities to do so. And the strength of my training and my experience allows me to do that at this time. A couple of my philosophies: I'm a proactive type person. I believe being proactive and visible is a deterrent to criminal activity. I'm an engaging type personality. A lot of the people in Stevensville I've already got out and met, and I continue to do that. I'll hit the ground running. And one of my first things is to actually get out and find out what people think of law enforcement in the town of Stevensville, what our strengths and weaknesses are, what we can do to improve those services to the community. I'll be the working chief, especially from the start. I'll be the guy here that answers the calls for service. My hope is that everyone feels confident in my abilities, and the test of time will tell. Ideally, I wanted to come up here and answer any questions that you had, more so than talk about myself. It seems like I've done a lot of that here recently, so if you have any questions for me, I'm open. And that includes.
Okay, with that, I'd like a motion. Councilmember Barker?
I'll make a motion for the consent to the mayor's appointment of John Bose as chief of police for the Stevensville Police Department.
We have a motion by Councilmember Barker. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Smith. Open to discussion for the council.
Obviously, just a quick little, you're coming from somewhere that's nice and warm to mountains where we have the colder weather.
Yes, ma'am.
We had obviously Max Sosa from Texas.
Yeah.
Really well liked him, and he left due to obviously
Yeah.
the weather issues. Is that gonna be something that's gonna
No,
deter you to
I'm an
be
empty
here after
nester.
being here for a short period of time?
Well, no, I'm an empty nester. I will say this though. Since I got out of the military, I've been a resident in the southeastern part of the United States for a long time. And I've got a little bit of a cold in the 3 days that I've been here. But I think once it runs its course, it's gonna be smooth sailing for me. I don't have any plans to leave, or I'm in it for the long haul. It's just me, so I don't have anybody pulling me in any direction or anything like that, so.
You know,
That
that-
alleviates any fears.
Right, because that has been a concern. We get
Yeah.
something here good that, you know, they want to be here, and then obviously
I'm
when
content.
Montana weather just scared them off for whatever reason.
Matter of fact, I've expressed my appreciation for the community, not only for the community, but the surrounding mountains, the Bitterroot Mountains and the Sapphire Mountains. And every day that I wake up, the first thing I do is I take a look out the window, and I'm appreciative of the opportunity to be here in this position, not only to serve the community, but as a member of the community myself. So I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I'm happy to be here.
Wait until it's 30 below.
Well, I grew up in North Texas in the Panhandle. We didn't have Indian summers there like we did in the Southeast, and it would snow every year. So I have some degree of knowledge about the weather, and it was cold in the panhandle of Texas. And so I do have some knowledge of that, so I'm prepared for it. And I'm ready to take on the challenge. And once I get past this cold, I think we're gonna be fine. It's the acclimation period.
Anybody else?
You want to go next?
Go ahead, Molly.
Council members?
Would you basically tell me what your salary structure was at UTC as a captain?
Like my yearly range.
Yearly, yeah.
It was 79,000. It was a little, right at 79,000, a little over. And that was also, we had a yearly investment, depending on the number of years you'd be in there, they provide you a little more, it's like a bonus. And so I was a little over 79, probably close to 79.5, to be accurate.
Are you aware that the cost of living here is higher than Chattanooga?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I also have a retirement. I've done a little research. As a matter of fact, I've watched many of these council meetings, so I feel like I know all of you.
You're happy. I'm just kidding.
No,
Go ahead, I have more.
Go ahead.
Oh, all righty. You made mention, Mr. Bowe, about being proactive, your approach at UTC and all. You certainly want to bring those ideas. I just hear you say that. Do you have any particular ideas on how to be proactive here in policing in Steamboat?
As far as right now, starting on the job, well, the plan initially is to evaluate what we have, what my resources are. And that could be additional resources such as other agencies in the immediate area, resources like Joe Marble here, who's helping me get my feet on the ground. Find out what we have, what our strengths and weaknesses are. The first thing I want to do is get out and meet as many people as I can. I know my predecessor was real big into the community engagement component of it. I'm equally as big on that. So in that regard, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of differences in our style other than some smaller things that I see moving forward that I'd like to implement. And obviously that's things that those are things that I'm going to bring to the mayor and those involved in the decision-making process. But as far as being proactive, being in uniform, being in the patrol vehicle, being out on the street, I'm a data guy. I like to look at numbers. So once I get on the ground and we start rolling, moving forward, I'm going to find out what my problem areas are, what the issues are in the town, and mostly I'll learn a lot of that information by speaking with community members. And we'll address those as we meet them.
Thank you.
You betcha.
Councilmember Brown?
So you said you studied us. Have you studied anything like the state of Montana, the state constitution, the Montana code?
I have that information now, as a matter of fact.
You have that information.
Yes, ma'am. Now, there is a period, it's more or less a reciprocity period. I'll go to Montana Post and take a transition class. I'll learn state laws and things like that. But prior to even attending that academy, I'll already have that information in my pocket. I can assure you of that. But I've already discovered some small nuances, like domestic violence, for example. There's a different heading for it, or it's termed a different way here than it is in the Southeast, for example. And it was different in the Southeast than it was in Texas, for example. So I'll catch on to that and I'll adjust moving forward.
Also, I'm not sure if you're aware, state of Montana has a very high suicide rate also.
Yeah, I'm aware of that as well.
So do you have any ideas, maybe if you see somebody on the street, on how to, help that person?
Absolutely, 100%. I've got a lot of training in crisis crisis management. I've dealt with situations like that, especially in a school environment. We typically had a lot of young people who left their families for the first time, whether it be in state or out of state, and they find themselves in an environment like the college atmosphere, and sometimes it becomes a little overwhelming. So we go down there, we mitigate those situations, we offer them services and things of that nature, and that's typically how we mitigate problems like, thoughts of suicidal or suicidal ideation, things like that. So I do have a lot of experience in that as well.
Thank you. Just one other thing is, Stevensville, we are kind of a bedroom community. We have the older population, and then we have the younger set because they travel to Missoula or Hamilton for work. So we're very much a bedroom community. So you do have to deal with the elderly and the very young people at the same time. So you're from the university. How would you maybe deal with the older set,
Well, I've also got a lot of municipal agency experience as well, ranging from elderly to middle age, all the way down to juvenile. I've got experience in all the different various court systems as it relates to the specific age groups, juvenile or adult court. So I feel pretty well equipped to tackle those issues as they arise. Like I said earlier, my experience and training over the course of my career has prepared me well for that position. First, I'm a compassionate person. That's probably what most people will learn about me going forward as soon as we engage. And I think that served me well in dealing with the general public. My goal is to help.
And you said you had 2 children that are
Yes.
out of the university
Yeah,
or?
well, one is actually still in. That's a long story in itself. But probably my biggest accomplishments in life, Macy graduated from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga in 2016. She's the general manager of REI in Memphis and was recently married last year. And my son Jake is a 6th-year junior at UT.
So any questions since you were the only applicant after 12 people put their name in that actually returned a phone call? Do you have any concerns about that?
Actually, I just feel, I actually feel grateful for the opportunity. Maybe it was a message. And I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I plan on tackling it head on and being the best I can be moving forward.
Thank you.
You betcha.
Councilmember Nelson.
Well, I don't mean to be the one end of the spectrum here, but I'm curious to know, any disciplinary issues?
In my public career,
Yes.
not that I'm aware of, no, sir. I've actually had a pretty good or successful career. Maybe attendance or tardiness issue early in my career. I'm not real familiar with any disciplinary things that I've had in the past that would hold me back from any promotional opportunities. I was able to be promoted wherever I was at, so.
No issues with the previous mayors or?
No, sir. No, I get along with just about everybody. I'm easily engaging, I'm approachable, and I'm pretty transparent.
Thank you, appreciate it.
you.
Council members.
Let me expound on that question a little bit. What would be, say, your 2 greatest failures, and what did you learn from them?
Probably my biggest failure early on when I started taking on the leadership role was I didn't delegate enough. I felt like it was my responsibility to take on more of a load than I probably should have. And as as I moved along or further down the road, I started discovering that there were many people capable of doing the things that not only I required, but the agency and the community itself required. So I benefited long run from learning to delegate probably a little more.
Thank you.
And as far as the second one, I am a people person, and sometimes I may give people the benefit of the doubt. And, sometimes that's an issue that will come back and haunt you later on. But I've learned to gauge people over a period of time. And I think that's improved as well over my years of public servitude.
Okay, I have one last question.
Yes, sir.
Is your vehicle a four-wheel drive?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, I'll open it up to
I'm sorry.
any questions from the public. None from the council? Okay, before we take the vote, I'd like to say that as soon as you take the vote, we will immediately swear John in and get him to work. So right after that, we'll have a small ceremony here.
That was a little presumptuous.
I'm confident. Okay, with that, Janelle, would you take the vote?
Yes, Councilmember Barker.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
And Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
I'd like you to welcome new police chief, John Williams. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just getting done.
It's in order.
It is in order. You know me by now, right?
I was impressed.
Good. The cable was caught up on my head.
How are you?
I just saw it.
I felt the worst of it was over last night.
When we are done here.
No, I just make this gentleman real quick.
Sure, he wants to take your picture.